Test, test, check 1, 2. You know you need unique New York. You know you need unique New York. Does that sound all right? Ah, that's better. You can always tell something's missing when you get isolated results. Like AI that's only right for one of your systems. Get AI that can work across your data and applications. Learn more at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
Now in the Stone Zone is Boone Cutler. Boone Cutler and I actually met many years ago, long before Donald Trump ran for president, long before the America First movement, because we were both advocates for the legalization of medicinal marijuana. In my case, I became such an advocate because my father was dying of cancer. He was wasting away because he had no appetite, and he was in horrific pain. He was a veteran of the Korean War, and the pain reduction drugs they were giving him merely served to constipate him, but did not increase his quality of life. My sisters and I decided to get him a small amount of marijuana, then illegal, and it both restored his appetite and eased his pain. I don't regret it. Frankly, we have advanced since that time. It's one of the things we're going to talk to Boone Cutler about. But Boone Cutler served as a psychological operations team sergeant for the war in Iraq. His team was responsible for Sadr City. He has written multiple books. The most interesting, they're all interesting, but the one that has impressed me the most is the book that he wrote with General Michael Flynn, A Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Boone Cutler, welcome to the Stone Zone.
Roger, it's a pleasure, man, to be on air with you again and talking about the things that a lot of people just, I mean, even back in the day when we were talking about cannabis, there was a lot of pushback. And folks just, they really didn't understand because they had gotten so much bad information over the years, and that's changed. And that's really good. That's a solid impact indicator that shows like what you have and getting out good information. It does change things. And so I appreciate you having me on.
I'm delighted to have you on. First of all, tell us, you were a psychological operations team sergeant in the war in Iraq. You wrote a book that you started during the fog of battle. I guess you finished at Walter Reed, where you defeated a prescription drug addiction, and you healed. Now you're multi-dimensional, both as a music producer, as an author, as a spokesman. You had a terrific radio show, but you've really stood up for Americans' veterans, and this is what interests me the most. So explain concisely what a psychological operations team sergeant does.
Well, a psychological operations team sergeant runs a PSYOP team. It's called a TPT, a Tactical Psychological Operations Team. And your job is to basically integrate with a supported unit inside an area of operation and be the commander's voice on the battlefield. The other thing is you're going to work the shaping of that environment in non-kinetic ways, meaning changing the way the people are acting without having to kill them. So, and this is done in a myriad of ways, but I really enjoyed that job because you really are immersed in the people. Like in Sadr City, we were on the street every single day with the people of Sadr City, listening to them, paying attention to them, seeing what their motivations were, their vulnerabilities, susceptibilities were, and being able to shape that environment to make the environment safer for Americans, but also at the same time really pushing towards our U.S. national objectives without having to obliterate everybody. So it's a real long-term strategy. It's something that you can put on the ground pretty much anywhere and do some really fantastic work in a very humane way that shapes environments.
Yeah, I want to once again recommend the book that Boone Cutler co-wrote with General Michael Flynn, who was with us just a few days ago, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, which is designed to help society overcome the Marxist psychological conditioning strategies that attack the cognitive battle space in the nation today. Boone, what survival skills do Americans, do all people have to have in this era of fifth generation warfare?
Well, I would kind of boil it down to a couple things. The first thing, and I say this over and over again to people that I talk to, protect your mind, control your emotions. because the only way you really can protect your mind is to control your emotions. We see these polarized messaging, the strategies all day long. People who are on social media all day long, they're getting hit with it constantly. And one of the ways you protect your mind, you control your emotions with a good amount of discernment is through tech hygiene and tech discipline, especially in today's online world. So tech hygiene is making sure you're looking at stuff that's good for you. You know, just like your physical hygiene, your physical health, you want to put good things into your body so you can get the optimal performance out of your body. Well, it's the same thing with your mind. With tech hygiene, we want to make sure that we're looking at the things that are positive. It's not always doom and gloom, the world's going to end and all this negative stuff. So that's the tech hygiene part of it. The tech discipline part is, how much time are you spending online looking at this? Are you ignoring your children? Are you ignoring your job? Are you ignoring your spouse because you're completely immersed in this digital world? Meanwhile, the trash is stacking up. The backyard needs to be picked up. Your kids are failing in school. They're not getting enough attention. They're not getting outside. They're doing the same thing you are online every day. You know, tech is like today's digital crack. And what I see parents giving their kids an iPad from the time they're about 3 years old, which is like giving your kid crack so you can do more crack. And this is the thing we got to step out of. So if I was going to give anybody, you know, a crash course on what you can do for yourself right now, is step away from the tech, go spend time in nature with your family and people you love, and just be around them. It does amazing things for your mental health.
I could not agree more. One of the things, the phenomena that we see is people who begin to believe that the internet is the real world, people who believe specifically that social media is the real world and that everyone knows what you know because you spend so much time on social media. It is addictive, but it is not the real world. And therefore, what you say is absolutely true. I think that that leads to very dangerous habits. I'm particularly concerned about artificial intelligence. I've been a victim of artificial intelligence. You can see many videos online of me allegedly saying things that I never said. If you look pretty carefully, you can see that they're fraudulent. But it is very dangerous because at not much cost and with very little skill, we can make a video, say, of Joe Biden or Donald Trump, for that matter, saying things that they never said. How do you think we should fight the abuses of artificial intelligence?
Well, the first thing is, and General Flynn and I, in the Citizens Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare, it's a 3-book series. The first book is Introduction to 5GW. The second one is How to Fight Artificial Intelligence. And the third one is The Role of the Church. In the second book of the series, we talk a lot about, you know, what things people can do. And the first thing is make yourself smart. You know, make yourself smart on what the capabilities of these artificial intelligence systems and platforms can do. That way you can recognize what you're looking at when you're looking at it. And I'll tell people this, and I'll tell them over and over again, it's not the robots that you have to worry about. A lot of people think about robots when they think about AI. It's really about the AI-driven psychological programming. And the AI-driven psychological programming is typically foreign-born, being launched by Iran, Russia, China, into the United States. And it's really like artillery for the mind that is just blowing everything up constantly. And it gets people in these behavioral cycles. And that's the AI-driven psychological programming. It really kind of takes everybody at the most basic animal level and starts shaping the way people think from their origin points. This is the dangerous part, and most people have never, ever heard the term AI-driven psychological programming, so we wanted to really open up with that. And the reason we did is because after the first book, people were saying, okay, I get it, I'm programmed. I get it, I'm programmed. I'm on social media, I'm doing all these things, I'm susceptible to this messaging, I'm programmed. How do I become deprogrammed? And then we kind of had to go in and say, okay, what is the most updated ways people are being manipulated and programmed? And the journey led us to artificial intelligence. This is the most emergent threat in the United States and the world, and we really need to stop it.
One of the things that you have been most vocal and articulate about is the suicide epidemic among veterans. I, having had the FBI storm my home at 6 o'clock in the morning, I've had some experience with PTSD. My wife has had an even worse experience with it. I can tell you firsthand that the pharmaceutical drugs like Zoloft and Xanax all have side effects in the long term. They are not good for you. You have been an advocate for certain psychedelic therapies that you think have helped. Let's talk about that for a minute. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, quickly, just let me kind of underline what my story is and how I got to the decisions that I have. I was injured in Iraq. I spent 2 years at Walter Reed Army Medical Center. They put me on all the psych meds. They put me on all the pain meds. They put me on all the benzodiazepines. And I lived that life of addiction through those medications for a number of years until I stopped. And it was actually cannabis that got me off of a lot of that, because then I could get good sleep. And that was just an amazing turning point. Things started to change for me there. So then I got off all the psych meds. I got off most of the opiates. Later, when CBD became proliferated, that really helped me get off the rest of the opiates. But I was still having a lot of issues with PTSD and TBI, and there's overlap in the PTSD and TBI. Well, later on down the road, I was just to kind of underline the thing. So I can talk to everybody about the different types of therapies that are out there. I can talk to the different types of drug therapies that are out there. I can talk to people about the addictions, because I've been through it, and I've been through it with several people, several other veterans, getting them help. And then this thing came out. I was hearing it kind of like, especially like when you and I were talking about cannabis way back in the day, you could just hear these rumblings and see things change slowly. Well, I was starting to see those same rumblings around psychedelics, but I was not educated on it until a good friend of mine had gone, two good friends of mine had gone down to Mexico, and I knew the shape that they were in. So when they came back and they were touting how wonderful this had been for them, that kind of pushed me over the edge to figure it out, because I trusted their reports. And so I got involved in it because I went down to Mexico and I did psychedelic therapy. And the one thing that I immediately noticed was that, one, addictions completely fade away. I had a horrible drinking habit. I mean, alcohol was something I just really could not put away, to the point that my wife would say, "Hey, you need to stop drinking." I said, "Sweetheart, you can ask anything from me. Okay, I'm a good husband. I'll always treat you right, but you can't ask me to stop drinking, because it's never going to happen. It's never, ever going to happen." And we kind of had to deal with that thorn in our side as a couple for several years. And then I did the psychedelics, and I was actually in San Diego coming back home, and I was with a buddy, and who also went through the treatment. And I started laughing, and he says, "Why are you laughing?" I said, "I just walked past a bar in an airport. I haven't done that in 10 years. And it meant nothing to me." And so the alcohol, the behavior around alcohol, the addiction side of it was just gone. It's just completely gone. And the ability to think, cognitively with TBI, the psychedelics just does so many good things neurologically for people. And also the PTSD issues, the ability to maintain some semblance of self-control. People call me Zen Boone now, when they used to call me like Hulk Boone, because I blow up all the time. So it's a different thing. So when I'm looking at, all these different modalities for veterans that I know that work, I can tell you cannabis works. I can tell you community works, having a good, strong community to lean on. I can tell you that stem cells work, and I can tell you that psychedelics work. Everything else, I can't tell you that works, because I didn't experience that. But definitely psychedelics on the forefront right now. We got Texas just passed major legislation for ibogaine research. Arizona passed major legislation for ibogaine research. So that will come to America. But right now, most of it is done on the underground in the United States, or you have to go to Mexico. And they've got great treatment facilities in Mexico.
Yeah, ibogaine is a psychoactive alkaloid derived from the root bark of a specific African shrub, and it has shown enormous potential in treating depression and PTSD, particularly in cases resistant to conventional therapies. Evidently, it stems from its complex interaction with the brain, where it acts on multiple transmitter systems, including serotonin, dopamine, and NMDA receptors. I have not used it myself. I've read extensively about it. I'm also interested in the use of psilocybin mushrooms in microdoses, sometimes called micro mushrooms, and some have reported successful treatment of PTSD with that. These, I think, are both promising, still illegal in most states, although mushrooms are becoming increasingly legal across the United States. I agree with you about CBD and that medicinal use of the hemp derivative. It would be difficult to sleep without it, in all honesty. It's quite legal in the state of Florida. So I do think you're an early advocate for these all-natural substances, which can help those with PTSD. This requires a lot more discussion. If you're just tuning in, we're talking to Boone Cutler, author, warfighter, a veteran, and a good friend of this program, and we'll be right back with more. Stand by.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
We're talking to Boone Cutler. You can find out more about Boone and his books and works by going to BooneCutler.com. That's BooneCutler.com. I'm really privileged to have him on the show today. Boone, I want to talk about stem cells and how that can help people with serious injuries. It has helped my wife tremendously, who had an injury in her knee. I'm not sure that all Americans are familiar with stem cell therapy and how it works and why it works, but lay it on us.
Well, this is my story. About 6 years ago, my heart gave out, and I was dying from cardiomyopathy, heart failure, polycythemia, stage 3 kidney disease. It all hit me at once, and I was in that death spiral. I had 6 months to live. And I was blessed enough to find a way through a wonderful lady who helped sponsor my treatment, and also Warfighter Hemp. My good friends at Warfighter Hemp also helped sponsor my treatment to go down to Panama and get stem cell therapy for my heart. And I went down there in a wheelchair. That's how bad off I was. And after 2 of 4 treatments, I was able to walk. I was able to go down an elevator, walk across the lobby, buy my wife some coffee, bring it back up to the room, and I was just better. And so that was stem cell therapy, and I would definitely be dead without it. Later, a few years ago, I went down to Tijuana to the Cellular Performance Institute and got stem cells again. And it was, again, just a very, very healthy thing that just works. And no babies were harmed during the process of the stem cell therapy. These are stem cells that are derived from an umbilical cord that's already used. It's going to be thrown in the trash. Nobody's going to benefit from it, which I think is a travesty. We have births all around this world every single day, and many times we just take that umbilical cord and throw it away when it can be harvested for the stem cells and save people's lives.
So there you have it. Boone Cutler, who's a veteran, has served his country with distinction, now dedicates his life to helping other warfighters, other veterans. Check out his 3 books with General Flynn, all regarding the 5th generation warfare America is facing today, particularly at this time when we may be facing yet another foreign war. I trust President Trump to make the right decision. It has to be a very lonely and difficult time for him as he makes life and death decisions around his nation. But I thank God that it is he, not Joe Biden or, God forbid, Kamala Harris, making those decisions.